I do want to share quickly the fact that Nan is getting ready to celebrate Reverend Sharpton's birthday, and there's some discussion about going up to New York. And so, Tony, if you would bring us up to date on what the Triumph, is that what it's called? Talk to us.
Yes. Everybody knows. Actually, very program. And the Triumph Award program is going to be 6th of October. That's actually on. And, we are taking a bus up to New York. Right now, the bus is being purchased. But most of it, 90.9%, we will to go up to New York. It was absolutely fabulous. I got a chance to clean up a little bit, and everybody just looked so fantastic. So entertaining to see a sea of our people nicely dressed with a Gladys Knight serenade, stage dancing. We were dancing. We just had that. This is a big deal out. I went to like this right now. And it's on the 6th of October. We'll be taking off. I don't have the takeoff time set just yet. 6th of October. More to come.
And if push comes to shove, we'll take a 15 passenger.
And if push comes to shove, the senator just take a 15 passenger van, and I'll let you know. So, we're just doing general seasonal winter maintenance for the bus. So our backup plan is to take 15 passenger.
We had a combination of he's putting the birthday party and the Triumph Awards together.
Correct.
So that there will be one event for folks to run that we are concerned about. All right, so certainly as soon as you know for sure,
So
get the word out. We'll get the word out. And don't forget Monday's show. Monday's show, all right. Next, we're going to be meeting in October, and based on the vote that came out last month, we were calling it the Brotherhood Award, but now we were reminded that this sisterhood has to be brought in too. So no more brotherhood. And this is a award that we're going to be giving to about 10 individuals who we believe are trying to merge and get us to work together as a united community on certain issues. Some we can stand together, some we cannot. But by and large, there's some people, for instance, that we're going to be emphasizing. Michael Harrison, who's the publisher of Talkers Magazine. To this day, I don't know how I got in there, but I've been in there now for the 10 of the last 25 years. Right. And he put a little flag for it. We're going to honor him. I want to honor Larry Gibson. Larry Gibson, I'm going to give you the whole list, but there'll be about 10 individuals, but we're going to not meet here at Shallow. We're going to meet at the Pikes Theater. That's the new theater that just opened up about 6 months ago. Yeah. Michael Johnson, the Black Theater, and our folks need to find where it's at and make our presence known. So we're going to do that. I'll send you more about it. Tony?
Yes, Larry, let me just dovetail. I had the pleasure of watching the Ravens beat down Sunday here at it's a beautiful place. Just to feel in Black country. Just pumped me right up.
Okay.
Also, actually, in addition to that, the owner told me the Ravens home game at the theater. Every Ravens home game on Sunday, the 1 o'clock game. Don't be doing that theater. He wants you all to come out. If you're going to come out, committed to doing my home game at the theater. It's vibe is so nice, and the people are just friendly. The food is good. We actually it's 2 theaters. You know, a church rented out the other side of the theater by themselves, and they made the mistake of a whole lot of food. And, the true Ravens fan, I don't know, just so funny. Every home game, every clock home game on Sunday. And I can do it Monday night games. The Sunday 1 o'clock games, home games, they're going to be doing it free and enjoy yourself.
Thank you very much. I'm very proud of Michael. He's been trying to get the last 20 years. He's been trying to get the theater. It's his dream. And he said starts and stops, but this one I think is gonna land. So we'll have to have it. Lastly, at the end of the night, if you have interest in the arena players, we're gonna start our 71st season back October, November. September, October, and November. Then we're gonna shut down for about 6 months so we can finish the $5 million improvements we'll be putting to the arena players. But the season starts. The season starts on this coming Friday, the September the 19th, and runs from the 19th through November October the 5th. 3 weeks. Okay, so there we go. Now we're going to go to the. I'm really pleased with the turnout. I was predicted to Devontae. I said, Devontae, you know we don't vote when it rains. So we'll see what happens. But he told me, he said, no. He even got on the phone and called some people. So I said, okay, you have nothing to say. We're gonna make the best of it. But I am very honored that we have this giant and a living legend and a person who's committed, distinguished. He's dad, husband, but I'm excited because of the one dimension. He's alerting our community to something we need to wake up about. And that's why we use the word in the poster, call to action. And he's convinced me. And I'm 75, still trying. But I'm just getting out of understanding a little bit about what's going on. And I moved a little bit into STEM, not fast enough, certainly not fast enough for him. And so tonight you're going to hear about not only STEM, but about a new 2 letters that seemingly is just taking this country by storm. And I was afraid of it until he started talking to me. And hopefully tonight you'll leave out of here understanding there's some opportunities, job opportunities, educational opportunities. And it's time for us to be alert. So before we greet, if you don't mind, the author, the man himself with the vision, Dr. Tyrone Taborn, showing some love.
Thank you. Well, first of all, Senator Young, thank you for pulling together this town hall on artificial intelligence. And I am extremely impressed with the turnout. Even considering with it rain and everything else, there's some real interest here. I'm also excited to tell you we're in the metaverse. You may say, oh, what is the metaverse? Well, while we're sitting here, there are people all across the nation that have logged in to the National Action Network room on STEM City USA. And for those of you who are listening out there, just simply tell your friends to go to nan.mystemcity.com. And we can have lots of people to participate. And that's what a metaverse really is. A metaverse is not social media. A metaverse is community building. And that's what we're doing. We're building communities in digital safe areas. But with that said, the reason I'm here tonight is really to give you an overall of what artificial intelligence is and how we're combining artificial intelligence with the metaverse, which is digital, or what we call a digital twin, meaning we can duplicate what we do physically in a digital environment. And what that means for our community as far as opportunities. So I'm going to go through some remarks And then at that point, love to get into some Q&A here. So what I want to talk about today is how this technology that is not new, what's new about this technology is machine learning. And I'll get into that in a minute. But you've always dealt with artificial intelligence over the last several decades. So we're talking about artificial intelligence and we're talking about GPT. And we're talking about what this moment means for us, not just African Americans, not just working people, but families in Baltimore across the generations. Now, let me ask this question. Do you believe the future belongs to those who prepare? I'm glad to hear that. And that's right. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, preparation. Not letting things happen to us. As I always say, we can be a victim, but we don't have to be victimized. So what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is not science fiction. It's here. It's machines learning to do what people do, only faster, cheaper, and sometimes even better. Who knows what GPT stands for? When I'm through with this, I'll ask the question and you'll win a t-shirt. It stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. That's a big phase, but this is what it means. GPT can write, talk, analyze, and create. It's been trained on billions of words. So it can draft your resume. It can tutor your child, your grandchild in math, or it can even write a sermon in just a few minutes. Finally, how many of you have Siri on your phone and you talk to Siri? Hey, Siri, that's artificial intelligence. It's not the smartest artificial intelligence, but it's artificial intelligence, right? Because these things are built on what we call LLMs, large language models. And but Siri is a early part of what artificial intelligence is, and it's going to get a lot smarter. So if you've ever asked Siri a question or Alexa to play your favorite song, you've already been playing around with artificial intelligence. So why does this matter to us as a community, other than the fact that we've consumed it? But who's really behind writing this stuff and building the systems out? AI is not just about convenience, it is about jobs. And that's why I'm here, because our community it looks like, again, we're going to be left out of one of the greatest transformational moments that we've seen in our lifetime. It's about whether our families can rise or whether we're going to continue to be left behind. Now, white collar jobs, secretaries, analysts, customer service reps, those jobs are disappearing. Those are white collar jobs. We haven't really seen that before because as technology has come in, it's often the blue collar jobs that disappear. The parking lot attendant disappears. The clerk at the grocery store disappears. AI, because it's so smart, it is able to take away potentially white collar jobs. And I'm going to tell you how that's already impacting our community. So AI really comes down to this. It's having a major impact, I believe, on the Black middle class, Senator, already. But the opportunity of what we're trying to do will bring new opportunities. It is not AI that will take your job. It is the people who are using AI that will take your job. And even in that, we can look at what are the new opportunities that we are being able to create. And that's why we're doing this town hall, to let people know not to be scared of this new generational technology, but to embrace this new generational technology. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to do it. But again, let me just paint the picture of what's already happening since the top of this year. The last job report, only 73,000 jobs were added. Employers are not hiring right now. For Black workers, unemployment over 7.2%, the highest, Senator, than we've seen in a long time. For Black boys, joblessness is almost over 12%. And this is the number that really scares me the most. Since the top of the year, over 300,000 Black women have lost their jobs. 300,000. And why is that? Well, a couple of reasons. It's a perfect storm. Number one, or one of the reasons, the government has gotten rid of so many civilian employees, and that's also hit the states and the cities. I showed you already that AI companies are using artificial intelligence as they deploy it in their organizations to replace a lot of white collar jobs, or a number of white collar jobs, from computer programming to data analysts to researchers to legal clerks. You can have AI do a lot of that work in the beginning for you. So that perfect storm coming together has a devastating impact on the Black community, because women are the backbone of our communities. And when the family gets hit so badly with unemployment at that level, at that middle class level, it's pretty devastating. So we've got this job market that's really shaky, and I'm not sure it's going to change anytime immediate with these cutbacks that will continue to happen. So that's why understanding artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, data science is really where the opportunity lives. Now, on STEM City Baltimore, that we've done, we've launched at the Thurgood Marshall Amenity Center, a training center. And in that center, we will be taking young people and teaching them some of the core skills to not only find opportunity, but to build companies and to create wealth. And I'll talk about that in the question and answer period, about all of these great opportunities of wealth. But there's three major areas where it will always be opportunity. Number one is the area of cybersecurity or quantum computing security. How do you protect all of this data and make sure? So you need people who can outthink the bad guys, right? And figure out how to make sure that our data is safe. Many of you have, you've seen a lot of the government data that may have disappeared, and people are saying, where's all my Social Security information and my Medicare? And we don't know, or at least some people don't know. I'm sure other folks do know. So we have to be able to protect the data. The other thing we have to be able to do is build these large language models. You know, how do we keep these items up to speed? And then a third area of opportunity is the prompt engineering, or the people who train these models to produce these tools that we're going to use. So those are three areas that will always have a great need. So what we're doing at the Thurgood Marshall Center isn't trying to replace the educational system, Senator. What we're trying to do is augment it. We're trying to bring the experts that we have throughout the world, people who actually design these systems, bring them to Baltimore. They're doing the training and giving our students the kind of skills that will make them even more valuable, and an opportunity, because you don't need a 4-year degree to do this. You really don't. You need a certification. I work with a lot of PhDs, and they're going back getting certification in this area. So we can clearly take these smart young people, and even, you know, some of us who are young at heart, but maybe a little bit older in the bones, you can take us. This doesn't know age whatsoever. So one of the things I want to do since we're here, I do want to thank Senator Corey McRae for being able to get $100,000 for us for the training center. And in talking about Senator McRae, he has a new book out about his apprenticeship. Those jobs, those blue collar jobs that we call blue collar jobs, are the new white collar jobs. AI cannot replace an electrician. It can't replace a plumber. It can't replace any of these good, solid jobs that when I was younger, we used to have a trade in the schools, right? We had to go to mechanic school, all of that stuff. I don't know if they do it anymore, but a lot of our kids don't even get basic trade information. So these apprenticeships really do matter. There's going to be over 7 million jobs available, 7 million, just in the energy sector. Between BG&E and all of these energy companies, 7 million people that are needed. Why? Because artificial intelligence needs two things to grow, right? It needs knowledge and it needs energy. Think about that. Without those two things, there's no artificial intelligence. And in order to use the energy, you've got to build, everybody here probably heard, data centers, data farms, all of these areas that need to be built in order to generate the energy. So you need more people to be involved in these areas. Watch the energy sector. Now, Fortune magazine and my magazine, US Black Engineer, how many people have seen US Black Engineer magazine? Ray, can you give everybody here a copy? Whose hand just went up? Oh, it's up there? Okay, then can you give them a book? Yeah, since they have the magazine, those hands that went up can have a copy of my book, Metaquake USA. Okay. So if you look at artificial intelligence, not as something that's going to cut jobs, but in the long term, it can help increase jobs and increase opportunities. You know, a person entering this field will make more than $18,000 more right at the beginning. So again, we don't want our children left behind. Now, let me tell you another opportunity that we have here. We've built something that's absolutely amazing. I don't know how many of you heard today, and I don't know if it's true, but I read in the paper that there was an order signed to take anything that referenced slavery out of the public parks. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm. I did.
Here's one of the things. Every generation makes the same mistake. The past generations fought so hard for us, and we forget the lessons learned, right? That's why we need Senator Young around another 20 years, because you guys, you folks in this room, you're going to have to fight the battles, because our young people don't know how to fight the battles. They're fighting the wrong battles. But why is that? Because history is forever taken away from us. We forget. We don't remember. There's nothing new about what we see from a political point. You can go back in history and look at the playbooks. You know what it is. You can predict what's out there because it's happened before. And the answers and the solutions happened before. And we will get through this, Senator. We will get through it. We'll get to the other side. It may hurt a little bit, but we're going to get to the other side. So let me tell you what we're doing, so I'm not complaining about it. At Career Communications Group, we've built something called Colin AI. This is a digital library. It's actually a living being where we have taken our data over the years. We've been around now more than 40 years. We have the magazines, we have the books, we have videos, we have all of this information, and we've put it into this thing called a large language library. And when you go onto the platform, for example, when you go into the National Action Network and you hit Colin 2D and you ask a question about who is Larry Young, it searches the memory. And then it pieces together all of that information. So now you can say, not only who is Larry Young, because anybody can go on Google and type in who is Larry Young, but you can go to the platform and say, well, who is Larry Young and what is the relationship to Tyrone Taborn? And what do they agree on? And that's neural logic. That's neural processing. It's like your brain is working. You're able to take all of these little pieces of information and bring it together. So when I told you about GPT, generative pre-training, what that means is that the machine now learns from what that question you just asked. It didn't forget it. The machine got smarter. And it will continue to get smarter. And the more you ask questions, the smarter the system gets. Now, what does that mean for a little kid in Baltimore? Well, somebody's got to check those logs, right? Because what if the system came back and misspelled Larry's name? So we have people who have to validate that information. They have to sit at those logs every single day and look at it and say, oh, that's wrong material. Because if you leave that material in, then it will always be wrong further down the line. It's what you'll hear this term later. It's called hallucination. So often it will come back with some bad data and we have to fix that. So we've created this unbelievable library, and I'm going to tell you how it works for the rest of the community. As you go through STEM City, you will see other instances of that library, right? So what can we do helping our community in healthcare? Well, right here on the device that Kedrick has, just hold up a device that we've created. We have something called My Health Advisor. And on that system, using your phone, we can take all of Senator Young's medical records, right? And put it into that LLM. So I just described to you what Colin AI does, right? So now we're talking about personalized information using the same technology, right? So we can take all his medical information, then we can take anything that he's associated with and pull it from the Department of Health, medical books that just deal with headaches or these particular issues. And then we can take information about nutrition. And he could sit here and have a meal in front of him and take a picture and say, should I eat this? And based on his history and based on how the machine would think he would act, it would say, no, you don't need to eat this. Or you need to do this. These are certain things, right? So when he asks for that sweet tea, I don't have to kick him under the table and say, come on, Senator. Now, what does that do for people in our community who disproportionately suffer from diabetes or other kind of pieces? When you now have in your hand a doctor that is specialized for you. I'm not saying go to ChatGPT or something like that or Google and ask the question. I'm talking about being able to specialize, personalized treatment for everybody in this room. Let me give you another example of what we can do right now, right this second on STEM City USA. Right now, you can go to an ophthalmologist's office on the platform and take basic eye tests on the platform. Now, let me tell you why that's important. School's starting, right? Now, you know, for many children going to school, two things generally account for them coming out, not having positive educational outcomes. Why do they miss school? Dental issues are number one. Why they don't show up? Because they can't get dental care and it's expensive. In a lot of cases, it's not covered, right? Senator, the senator did so much there. But you know what the number two reason is? Ophthalmology. The student doesn't even know they can't see. So On STEM City right now, 10,000 kids going to school could simply open up that Chrome computer, go to the site, and take an eye test. And then using artificial intelligence to interpret all of that data, we can do physical screening in 1 hour for most of the kids in the school district. And then refer the ones that seem to have a problem immediately to a healthcare professional. Think about that, standing right in front of that iPad, going to exactly the city I just sent you to, and doing that eye test. And the artificial intelligence will look at it and say, wow, this person needs help. And we can pinpoint who you are and then refer that to a healthcare professional. And before you get home, there's an email or a telephone call to your parents saying, we need to get you scheduled. Now imagine, that's the power that we have. And that's just the test. That's not even getting into things like blood pressure and using devices like this where we can measure you from time to time. Workforce training. You know, our educational system is really based on pushing knowledge out and not pulling the knowledge. What we're going to be doing in the metaverse is doing a lot of workforce training. So a student who can't get over to the Thurgood Marshall building because it's a limited space, they could be here at New Shallow. A whole group of them can be in this room and looking at the computer and participating with students over there, students in New Delhi, students in Cape Town. You have the scalability to bring these skills up in a way that we've never been able to do before, because we have good programs that exist out there. So anyway, I hope I'm getting your imagination a little bit about this. And I see that I'm running. I want to get to some Q&As. But again, I want to talk about what the metaverse is, because what we've combined artificial intelligence and the metaverse. The metaverse is not a social media platform, okay? It is a community building platform. And what I mean by that is that prior to you hearing about the metaverse, the only thing you could truly own on the internet is .com. You know, that's all you can own is the name, Senator, is .com. That's all you own. The knowledge, the people who have the hardware have all the wealth. And why is that? Because the hardware has all of your personal information. So that's how they can sell that information, right? You get online, you go to LinkedIn, you go to Facebook, you see how those ads are served just to you. How do they know this, right? And why am I getting this information? Because you've given away your information. It's called digital agency. You've given it away. If you're not paying for it, you're giving your data away. And the people who have the hardware, they store the data. And because they have the data, they can sell the data. So you can't even sell your own data. And that's okay. I mean, you benefit, you have fun playing these free games. You have fun going on Facebook and places like that, right? But you don't make any money at it. So what is the metaverse? The metaverse is built on a platform called blockchain. And to make it really easy, it means that your data is now sellable, it's protected, and you can own the data. And the hardware only becomes a tool to distribute the data. Your data stays with you, like in your pocket. You guys heard of, I was gonna just reach, because we have things called digital wallets, but you've heard of cryptocurrency, right? That's built on blockchain, right? So that is what happens. So the metaverse, because you can own your data, you can own digital space for the first time, that we're now protecting the data more so than protecting the hardware. So the people who have the big giant computers, you know, it's hard for them to have a monopoly on all of the data. That is enriching because now we can interact with each other without worrying that somebody's going to steal your idea. Because you own that data. You can follow that data. The picture you take, we can break that down that you can trace everything that you've done and ask somebody, why did you take my information here? So now you take the metaverse, that's a trusted community that's always available, where we come together to work as a community and we collaborate. Now you can create a lot more businesses that we never could before. You can now have more stores. You can now sell professional training and all of these other great things there. So again, just go to STEM City USA and begin to experience what a metaverse is. Now, finally, crossing that metaverse with artificial intelligence, that's the scary thing. And that's what we've done, which is why I said it's a living entity now. Now, when you go to to our platform, and we're one of the first people, one of the first groups to have ever done something like this, you can talk to the platform and it gets smarter. What we're doing now, the metaverse is learning from this meeting right now. It's recording it, it's absorbing it, it's getting smarter. And that means that our knowledge will always be here. Okay, finally, I have a couple of more pages, but I want to get into some questions, okay? I knew I'm talking to smart people, so I brought a lot of stuff here for you, but I think we probably hit that. Right now, 7.5 million manufacturing jobs are open, right this second, in this country. So I want to give you guys a challenge. I have to talk about this for one quick second. Two last things that I want to just say to you. Policing and AI and democracy and AI. These are two things that you hear a lot of the negative things about policing and AI, facial recognition that works disproportionately against people of color. But here's a reversal of that. You remember how I explained that library to you that we've created? And I've already showed you how I can just put that even on an iPhone and you can have your digital health. Now, what if you took Larry Gibson, and I've talked to Larry Gibson about this, who's a judge, who's done professor, countless stuff, Billy Murphy, and a number of other people, and you took all of the papers they wrote, all of the court cases they had, and you put it into that large language library that I just talked about. And you have somebody who can't even get a lawyer sitting or about to face some legal issues. And obviously the only reason they're there is because they don't have a lawyer. And they're able to go in there and have basic legal work done just by asking the right questions. And all of the knowledge of Billy Murphy, Larry Gibson, and other brilliant attorneys, we take out all of their papers, all of their law cases, and we've put it in that library. Oh man, you imagine what could happen? You do the same thing with medicine. So that's one of the areas that's so important. So the other piece I just want to say, I don't think we're going to have another election that is, and I want to be careful because I don't want people being pessimistic about this, but I want you to be conscious of it. I don't think we're ever going to have another open election. And why is that? Because with the social media, of which we are not social media, we're community building, but of social media now. And I don't know if you know how upset Kwesi Mfume was about the breach of all of our public data that seemed to have disappeared, or at least potentially has disappeared. So if you've got a company that has gotten all of your social security records and everything else, and a company that controls these different social media pieces, every time an election's going to come up, they can finger point you and send you the kind of ads that will change your mind. The ads may say something like, Don't go vote because, white people are bad, which is not true. But you get bombarded with that, so you don't even go vote. So what I think is so important is being able to let people understand, be very careful for these upcoming elections, how social media, which is really mediates us, social media divides us, how it can be used to take away your enthusiasm. And so you can't give away the democracy. It's the greatest fight. This is the greatest fight, I believe, of our lifetime and what you should do. When you hear a little kid, I remember when Hillary Clinton was running, and my two goddaughters, who are really smart kids, and they said, well, we need a woman to run, but Hillary Clinton isn't the one. And I said, where did they get that? They got it from TikTok. Okay, and so start thinking about how many folks, not all of them, but enough that voted a different kind of way. And we may be having a different kind of discussion depending on what that election looked like. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just telling you, you need to understand where we are. Okay. So finally, this is the future that I see for Baltimore. I brought the Black Engineer of the Year conference back to Baltimore for a reason, because I wanted to make sure that we were able to bring all of this talent and make a significant difference in training young people and others. And workforce training is for older folks as well, but our initial activity, because of our activity with the schools, are largely young folks. What I see is a technology hub. And that technology hub in our communities where we have burnt out buildings and things like that, where we can bring in a hybrid system of data centers, data training, AI training and certification, quantum computing training, cybersecurity training, all of these critical areas that the future needs. Why not? Why not us? They're building data centers everywhere. Now, you don't have to take up 100 acres if you do a hub center, a tech hub center, where we basically are using mid-sized computers to do your local processing and then pulling from the cloud on those other more difficult activities. It can be done. The only thing that stops it right now is the vision, and then having the political of support and having the business support. But it can be done. And our communities can look a lot different. So I encourage you again, go to STEMcityusa.com and see the city in the sky, the city that you deserve, the city that is about you. What you can't necessarily get all physically here, we can get in the digital cloud. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate you guys.
Wow. You just went through Morgan State University's course on AI. Fantastic. Wow. I guess the best thing I can do is think of a couple of questions came along as you were making your presentation about stuff. I'm going to look at a basic issue such as unemployment again.
Mhm.
With Black unemployment already so high, how can we make sure that AI doesn't widen the gap?
Right now, there is such a huge need, Senator, for people just in something with engineering. These are computers that are becoming so smart. I don't have time to really get into that. But how do you protect these kind of computers, right? So every industry that exists now, their biggest concern is cybersecurity. And just training our kids in those kind of areas, there's opportunities for them. But can I take that a step further? Why can't our kids spend a couple of years in the military learning that information, being certified, going as a civilian, going into the military, going into tech companies and coming back and opening up their own cybersecurity companies. Right?
Okay.
So that's one way. AI, if you look at AI, and I want to, this is really important. Generally, the reasons we can't get into things is because the barrier is too high. Right? So why do we have a digital divide? One of the reasons we had a digital divide is because back in 1959, when people were fighting for basic rights, there was a whole revolution going on with the microchip. About time we got into the game, all of these major companies have been built. So the barrier was up there. There's no way in the world that you could go against those major companies that had accumulated billions of dollars. No way you can do it. So when we saw the PC brought the barrier down a little, right? And you begin to see countries like India, folks like that get into the game because the barrier came down a little bit. Artificial intelligence is bringing the barrier down more. Other words, programming, you had to spend 70% to 80% of your time learning how to code. With artificial intelligence, you spend 20% of your time and 80% of your time being creative. Okay, that's the biggest difference. So this stuff will open up your imagination and open up opportunities. You can generate a website in 3 minutes right now, which used to take, when I was doing this stuff and I had to learn some basic code, it would take a month. Okay, 2 to 3 minutes. Now imagine what a smart kid could do. I took some kids, I'm just telling you this, Senator, real quick. I gave some kids this hackathon. Hackathon is you give them a problem and they come back with it. And I said, well, using what we call the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things, I mean, everybody knows what the internet is. You go to the internet, you type in something and it talks to it, right? Well, the Internet of Things connects all of these physical things to the internet. So that computer would say to me, you've drunk half of this stuff, you need to buy a new one. And then it would shoot something over to 7-Eleven. And by the time I get to 7-Eleven, my package is waiting, right? That's the Internet of Things. So I asked these students, and it was amazing that one student came up with this idea about his grandmother and the medicines that she doesn't take all the time. And using the Internet of Things, he came up with a program that would ring every time she missed her medicine and alert people. Compliance of taking medicine is one of the biggest problems we have, that people just don't, they just don't do it. That's a tough thing to keep taking medicines, and sometimes they have a negative effect on you and things, and isolation, and then obviously money. Right? Some of this stuff is too expensive. So anyway, that's one of the pieces.
I've talked about the issue of unemployment, but also in our community, can AI really be trusted to make decisions in criminal justice?
That's an excellent question. The answer is no. AI, and we don't want it to do that, but what it can do is how I describe how it can be a tool to bring justice, right? How you can now, bring legal expertise to those who would never get it. Because, when I first came to Baltimore, Senator, when you and I first met, Billy Murphy brought me to Baltimore. And back then, the prison was right across the street, right? And Billy would tell me all the time, he said, half the people over there, the only reason they're there is because they can't afford a lawyer. Just writing a basic legal brief, we can change that. Giving those tools to everyone, we can make a difference. Now, and then I think it makes a lot more sense because the real bad guys are there and the folks who don't need to be there are out. But more importantly, we're going to give them workforce development too. So you give them these kind of tools and people start playing around with it, they get smarter. right? So that's what I see.
Let me step one more. How does AI align with our faith and value?
I believe that the greatest AI is God already. I believe, just think about this room right now for a second. Now, I'm not saying God doesn't. I'm really saying this. We're all in this room, and there's a collective energy. There's a connection, right, to something greater than us as individuals. We've all kind of bought in on the same wavelength, right? I think that things that make you smarter take you closer to whatever spirit you believe in. And I'm gonna give you one last. I've asked a lot of. This is a question that I've asked, and I'm gonna share it with you. I asked this great person, what is art? I said, what is art? And she told me art is anything that expands the mind and not contracts the mind. And I thought about that. I said, that is art. If art makes you think. So if we're able to use these kind of tools, Senator, and expand our mind, I think that gets us closer to whatever you want to believe in.
All right, I got my 3 in. Yes, ma'am.
So thank you so much for coming. I'm Trina. I'm a radio show host.
Hi, Trina. Oh, wow.
Also, Bridge Housing Chair.
Okay.
And pastor and broker.
Okay.
And so one of the things that frustrate me the most, and I wrote an article to the Rolling Stone, is how government is, the problem that I see is Medicare does not talk to Social Security. Social Security does not talk to Medicare. Medicare does not talk to the state of Maryland. And so when it comes to health insurance, people are suffering because these big government organizations don't talk to each other. They don't share data digitally. So the question is, what is the government doing? Why are they so slow? And even with housing, okay? BRHP submitted an application for the Housing Choice Program. They deleted my goddaughter's application by mistake.
Yeah.
So then I had to stop what I was doing, sign the DocuSign form. So now I'm not making money, trying to help her get a house. So my question is, what is the government doing about fixing this big problem that Elon sees? You know, he's not the first one. And so it's frustrating to me that government systems, especially with Social Security and Medicare, they're so antiquated. Why is that?
Well, let me say this. First of all, you want a t-shirt. Can you give her, not a t-shirt, a sweater? We're gonna give you a sweater. Yeah, you get a sweater. If we can hold up that sweater, we got you. All righty. So Ray's the one who's gonna do that sweater. It's BEA, and it stands for becoming everything you are. That's the BEA piece. So the short answer to that is that HIPAA laws were one issue why that could not happen. Okay. The other question is that, can you trust all of your data being in one, under one system? And that is a really scary issue, and that's what we just saw. There's always been an attempt recently by agencies to put all of that data together, but some of that data needs to be siloed. Okay, I mean, you don't want the computers at the courthouse being able to see necessarily your grandmother who has a home, has a building in a housing project, and then they associate a grandchild and she loses her housing because those computers are talking to each other. You got to silo that information off. But we've been doing that. Veterans Administration has been pulling that data and stuff. And I love to talk to you more about that, but you're absolutely on track. Technology, we can fix it, but we need the laws in place to protect your privacy because it can be abused so quickly.
Wait 1 second, Angel, only because of the clock, I want to squeeze in
Right.
so much. Marietta?
Sorry, Marietta.
Yes.
Retired teacher. My
Oh, great.
question is, where are you getting your students? How much is it gonna cost? And, how are we going to get them
Sure.
interested in doing it?
Well, that's an excellent question. For 40 years at Bea, Becoming Everything You Are, we've had one of the most successful pre-college programs in the nation, working with countless school districts and after-school programs. So that is a large pull of how we're getting the students. We're also working with educators throughout the state as well to pull the kids in. But more importantly, we're going to be pushing that data into classrooms. And we've already had success during the pandemic in Detroit, where we would have we used to bring the kids in for our Women of Color conference. The students couldn't attend. We still were able to get 10,000 students in the metaverse to meet and do pre-college programs and those kind of pieces. So that, I hope that answers your question. Our problem is scalability right now. We have so many students who want to participate.
No, I understand they want to. In Baltimore City,
Yes.
do we have to participate, and what is it going to?
It will cost the students nothing but their time. That's what it costs the students. Our program is designed with our corporate partners and our government partners and people like Senator McCray to find the funding to build the program and to deliver the curriculum. The President of the United States just signed an executive order last month that called for increased development of curriculum for artificial intelligence for K through 12. So this information, the information that we're developing for curriculum, we plan to take to the state and have the state adopt it and then give it and say that this is certified, that the curriculum we've developed on artificial intelligence can be used in the classroom to support the Maryland technology track that exists right now. So the question for us, if you think about this as a fishbowl, what we're doing is not only helping a handful of folks that show up, but what we're doing is developing a curriculum that can be used throughout the state and empower the teachers to use it. And by the way, in using our platform right now, if you were to go on our platform and type in Colin AI and ask the system to develop 10 instructional hours aimed at Black girls, for example, you can say white girls, Asian girls, it doesn't matter, but
How about this?
just girls, to help them understand the importance of quantum computing. It will generate a lesson plan for that teacher, 10 hours worth of lessons for that teacher. That's 1.5 weeks or maybe 2 weeks. That's powerful. So now that teacher, and it will align itself with the state, absolutely, because we're using Common Core, but in Maryland, we're also using the Maryland curriculum. So it's tying right in there. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can't see her hand, but yeah.
You said,
Metaverse.
yeah.
Mhm.
Now, is the program from what I use it on the phone, and that will come up automatically. They want me to say,
Right.
I don't like that. It's like, I need it on my phone.
Right, right.
And it's like, can't get it up.
But
It's more to this than just putting stuff out. Yeah. It can be like a spot. Hey, that's just the way I'm looking at it.
I think Senator Young asked that question about,
Yeah, and I
can you,
don't like that. Why is that on your phone?
Right.
You know, you don't want it.
well, let me tell you, for every, it's nothing but a tool, and that's why we have to protect. What you can do good, you can do bad. It's not the tool that does good or bad, it's the people that do good or bad, okay?
You say, fine.
Yeah.
I think if you go into city USA.com, I guarantee you, if you ask that question, they can tell you.
Absolutely.
They can talk.
Absolutely. Okay. I think you would say, yes.
Singers are going crazy. It's a tutorial program.
Oh, yeah.
Say computer.
Let me say this to you. The worst thing about getting old is that you lose so many friends and you have isolation. Okay? Now, we are able, right now, the technology exists, and we've actually done part of this. We're able to take all your pictures, all of your family history, put it on our metaverse. We're doing this right now for somebody. And they will be able to go to STEM City and engage and have conversations. I don't know how many of you may have seen me on the internet and you see me talking. That's all digital. Right? We sit back and we type this stuff in and we put it out there. You will be able to engage in real time with folks. So now what does that do for older people and other folks? It it helps to cut down isolation. Okay.
Let me get three more questions in for the outfits.
Bill Patrick,
Bill?
2011. Bea, winner from Norfolk Pro.
Oh. Well, you know how long we've been at this, right?
I do. You have any contact with BCIT, the Baltimore City Information Technology Organization? A lot of what you're talking about fits right into the umbrella
Yeah.
that they are working with.
Well, love to have you involved with one of our alumni committees. Since you just stood up and volunteered, these two young men in here will grab you. So you can help us with whatever we're doing. You can help us move that forward. Okay.
Alex?
Yeah. First and foremost, we find God.
Oh, definitely. Thank you.
Very young. And Baltimore. It's definitely a year. That. We summit, how do we, what's the grand plan? How do we get started? What's your thing?
Well, a couple of quick things without spilling all of the beans. Let me tell you what we have attempted to do. Right, and we can talk about that, but I'll tell you, Senator McCray presented a bill that we drafted last year. One, to try to set an advisory committee that would not guarantee, but that would look at all of the state spending on information technology, quantum computing. Now, it did not get out of committee. Hopefully we'll put it back in, but he sponsored that bill, and it was sponsored by Brooks as well. And we're going to keep pushing that. So once we at least get an advisory committee, Now, the budget came back and said it would cost nothing. They sent it to the budget office, right? And the budget office came back and said it would have no problems, there was no cost to set up an advisory committee. But there were folks who said they didn't want to see the administrators. We don't need an advisory committee to guarantee participation. So that's one issue. So we have to fight at that level. On the city level, in Chicago, they were able to pass something called digital residency. And what digital residency in Chicago is this, it's brilliant. Any new data center that's being created within Chicago has got to have a certain amount of community participation. And so we are talking to city council people now about what that looks like. I brought in a team of people from Chicago who sat down with one of the major corporate execs of one of the major companies here. I'm not going to say the name, and city council people. And we've talked this through. So that's another area. So I think from a legislative point, if you're able to get things like digital residencies and we're able to get this advisory committee, it's a step in the right direction. Okay. But I can talk more about that.
Both of those situations could be handled by executive orders of the governor. He doesn't need the legislation to set it up. If he wants to do it, the governor can do it, and so can the mayor. Both of them can use the executive orders in their respective offices to do what you want to get done. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
The location of Fairwood Martin School, where that located?
Yes, it is. Right. Uh-huh. And we have an office in there as well.
Marcia, does I see your hand or you just talking about it?
Bristol Street, 15 minutes, where the third Marshall facility. That building is amazing. And it has everything available. You want to take some time and go over there and experience what's going on in that facility. There's a lot of classrooms. They have all types of equipment, and it is absolutely wonderful. And Reverend is so serious. He ain't playing with nobody. Go over there, take the time to actually see the facility and spend some time with the pastor.
Sure.
Why do you think social media, Facebook, and TikTok, do you feel that, let me say, is that's not great? Say a few things about it, but
Yeah.
can you explain to me why?
I'm glad you asked that question. Right, you get a t-shirt. Great. Oh, Ray says that, well, you get a book then. Those kind of things actually create what we call a mediated society, where your worldview is only shaped by the people you're connecting with on those platforms. Right? So almost everybody you know on your social media platform are people that you know, and you want them to like you. So you're constantly pushing things out. You're not being educated generally through that social media. You're putting out your pictures, you're putting out what you had for dinner, that kind of stuff. And you get excited when somebody hits like, not you necessarily, but for most people. So social media is really designed to put you into a silo versus being in an area where you have a worldview with a lot of different people giving you a lot of different opinions. And that's a growth piece. That's why I talk about social media. And then keep in mind, social media is a business. So now that they know, by yourself, I may not be able to sell these guys anything. But you've given me all your data. So I know you like coconut water. I know you like coconut water. You like coconut water. So I put all you guys together and I go sell all your data. So when you go on TikTok and things like that, this will pop up. Buy some coconut water.
Facebook, but I do it being a host, right?
Right. Sure.
Yeah, so.
Right.
Basically.
Right.
You get paid for
We've got something for you on that too. That's called social media sharing, but we have a piece for that. So,
One last question.
Mine's like first.
okay. I was waiting for one of those. Right.
Why have they come up with I say why?
Right.
Do you need the world of tomorrow? World peace. Oh, why are they running the opposite direction? And peace don't bring.
I think what we're doing, and I think what we're doing in community building will lead to world peace. It can. What this platform we're talking about, you know, the more we're moving into what artificial intelligence and these things may be able to do for us, it may bring an age of abundance. Okay, meaning that there is so much out there. Once we get past growing pains, there's so much there that you're not going to necessarily want to go to work just to get paid. I mean, we're seeing that now at one of the high-tech companies that makes the chips. 83% of all of their employees are millionaires. 83%, NVIDIA, 83% of all of their employees are already millionaires. They're the ones who make a lot of the chips that we use in artificial intelligence. Right? So those folks don't leave to go to Meta or go to Google because of the money. They go for the challenge. I believe that as everybody raises, then you're able to concentrate more on the things you want. And I think I think we're living in one of the most wonderful times. Might not seem that way, but we are. From a technology point, I see so much potential future for us. And that's why I'm here. That's why we're having this town hall. So we can show our kids and talk to our kids and not have them go into an area of being negative and pessimistic and being and feeling that they have no worth. No, we can show them that there's lots of ways, there's lots of pathways for us. And listen, if we do well, everybody else does well. I never figured that out, Senator Young. Why you would think if one person does poorly, you do poorly, right? Except if your ego is so big, the only way you can feel good is to see somebody else down. I've never seen where if everybody does good, then we all feel good. That's the future that I see. That's the presence that I see.
Where should we be in that?
There is a lot of places you should be. NVIDIA is one company that I just told you about, right? I would be, I can't give investment information. I'm not telling you that. Okay. So, but I would be in energy, right? Yeah. I just told you about all the data centers that have to be built, right? For that. I would be in energy. I would be in space. I would be in cybersecurity. Those are just some of the, no, you know what? Let me stop. Go to STEM City USA and ask the question.
Yeah, you said we want to invest in them.
Okay. You can actually, by the way, you can actually open your own city or your own store on STEM City. I mean, if there's something you do, this organization is on STEM City. So we can talk about how you can invest and it doesn't cost you anything but your time. You create your STEM City is the platform. You create your own digital version of what you want, your own digital twin. So for example, you can have an ophthalmology office or you can have a shopping mall, but go to STEM City USA and then we can talk after that.
But one thing is for sure, we don't do this often, but I will from time to time. Ask our speaker to look at their schedule 1 year back, 1 year forward. And let's see how much progress has been made.
Well, thank you.
Because we're going to ask him to choose September, the third Tuesday of September, 2026 to come back this way. And by coming back, we'll compare with how many of us have gone out and utilized what we learned through this Morgan State University graduate course we just got into tonight. Let's give them one applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So don't forget, we're gonna have a meeting in October, not at Shallow, but at the Pikes Theater. Pikes Theater.
That's something.
And also, Doctor, I should tell you that I'm still trying to get the movie The Man. So you know, I've been holding out for that because that's the movie that stars how James Earl Jones, how the black man first became president. Even before Barack Obama was even thought of.
Yeah.
So we're certainly want to get back with you about that. But thank you for coming out in the weather. You're very special. Thank you so very much. Have a good night.
Excuse me, everybody. Looking in the rearview mirror 2 weeks ago, Universal Soul Circus was there. And they dedicated a special day to Larry Young.
Oh,
And give him a round of applause. Okay, and in addition to that, they did an awesome video.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you got it. We get it.
get it to me.
But, do you hear that?
Yeah, we'll put it right in the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It was awesome.
It was awesome.
Did an awesome job.
Yep.
And, tens of thousands of kids appreciate you and love you.
12,000 kids got scholarships because of that.
Thank God for life.
Foundation. FL, the student. I'm getting the private community. That's it. Fine. Absolutely. What year?